It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. There has been a changing of the guard at Metro Los Angeles. Metro Los Angeles is no longer being run by Karen Bass.
If you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, let's get help for you.
We are out of the Karen Bass era.
At the end of the day.
And we are moving into the Janice Hahn era.
That's your final warning.
It's the only drop I have of Janice, but boy, is it a classic. The Metro Agency had their annual State of the Agency, where Karen Bass gave her report on her year as chair and then passed the torch to Janice Hahn. Let's find out how Karen Bass did. Let's see if Janice Hahn's going to be any better. It's been quite a year when it comes to Metro, hasn't it, Hilda?
Wow, that's amazing.
First, Karen Bass wants to talk Metro safety.
Now, after ridership has steadily been increasing to almost pre-pandemic levels over the past few months, we have sadly experienced a spike in violent crime and riders and hard-working Metro employees alike feeling unsafe on the system. So we took action. We acted urgently and we launched a law enforcement surge onto the system.
I mean, I don't know if I would say urgently. That was after just like the most outrageous murder. There are plenty of other violent crimes that have been happening for years, but sure, after the unbelievably outrageous murders that had taken place in like back-to-back months, at that point, Karen Bass did act urgently.
So we took action. We acted urgently and we launched a law enforcement surge onto the system. We established a unified command center, and that's something that Supervisor Barger had championed to make sure that we acted in coordination and with a strategy.
Hey, look at that, Barger. You got a shout out.
Quite frankly,
the only drop I have of her.
We settled decades of debate by acting decisively to change law enforcement on the Metro system by moving forward with creating a new transit safety department to keep everyone safe. If you are on transit, that's right. We want everyone to be safe.
And of course, nothing's going to make people feel safe like talking about a 5-year plan to set up an in-house law enforcement agency when every law enforcement agency of the state is having hiring issues. And what we need is a little more competition in that game. Karen Bass does admit it will take several years to implement this plan that we are acting so urgently on.
If you are on transit, you deserve to be safe.
And what is the difference between a Metro police officer or a LA County sheriff or an LAPD officer or an Long Beach police officer? I don't know. I feel like we are talking semantics when creating our own agency is the end-all be-all. Because when Metro was RTD, they had their own agency. We just keep going back and forth. I almost used it. But eventually, it's going to be someone who works in the county of Los Angeles as law enforcement that tells you to put down the meth pipe or get off the train. Hopefully. I almost said it. I really try hard to catch myself to make sure that I don't do it, and I almost did one.
But at the end of the day,
if you are on transit, you deserve to be safe, you deserve to feel safe, and you deserve a peaceful and clean station, bus, or train.
That would be great. How are we going to get there?
Now, it's going to take several years for the new safety department to be established.
Can you get the buses clean now, or is that going to take 5 years as well?
But it will meet the unique needs of the sprawling metro system across each of the cities and unincorporated areas of LA County.
And at least Karen Bass has come a far cry from what she said immediately after the first outrageous murder this year.
My message to the community is Metro is safe.
We're not saying Metro is safe anymore. We're saying we want Metro to be safe. Better message. A little more accurate.
It will do this with specially trained law enforcement officers to address crime and an increased number of social workers, ambassadors, and
Oh boy, you lost me.
and an increased number of social workers, ambassadors, and other specialists to address the crises of homelessness and addiction that play out on our system.
Why is that Metro's problem? Why is it Metro's issue? All of these people already work for the other governmental agencies. Karen Bass, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles. Janice Hahn and the other soups, they're all boards of supervisors members. They have other capacities to deal with the homeless and to do all this other stuff. It should not be Metro's responsibility. How about this? If you're not paying to be on the train, you get kicked off the train. If you're trying to sleep on the train, you get kicked off the train. If you're trying to do drugs on the bus, you get kicked off the bus. I don't care if you're homeless or not. This is not a shelter. Bye-bye.
And an increased number of social workers, ambassadors, and other specialists to address the crises of homelessness and addiction that play out on our system.
If you bring methamphetamine or fentanyl onto a bus or a train, how about this? You are putting people's lives in danger. You go to jail. Well, if Prop 36 passes, we're not going to get to that. But on the third time that you get arrested for possession, you might get to go into treatment. It's better than nothing. That's Prop 36's ad campaign. Vote for Prop 36. It's a little better than what we have now.
Since this board directed Metro ambassadors to be trained to deploy Narcan, they have saved 190 lives.
I mean, that's the glass half full way to look at that. And congratulations to those ambassadors who got off their phones and administered some nasal spray. The glass half empty perspective of that is you allowed over 100 people to fatally overdose on your transit system. And typically, the people that OD, it's not their first time, second time, third time, 50th time. They're doing it every day on the train. This was the day they got a bad batch. This was the day they did just a little too much. But yes, let's celebrate the fact that the ambassadors revived 100 people who shouldn't have been on the train to begin with, because the last place, there is no place you should be shooting up heroin. But you know what? Of all the places to shoot up heroin, how about not on a bus? How about not on a train where you are actively encouraging small children to go to and from school on your system?
I want to thank Supervisor Mitchell and other members of the board because we have made the ambassador program permanent. And I want to thank our ambassadors who are right here and all of the frontline Metro staff. And we need to give them another rounding applause.
We really don't. Let's talk about homelessness, because that's what this is all about.
Metro is joining in the efforts to respond to the humanitarian crisis of homelessness by using Metro land to build desperately needed housing. So one example is La Veranda, which opened this past year to bring much needed affordable housing to Boyle Heights in Supervisor Solis's district. And I know that LASA, under Chair Horvath and Dr. Adams-Kellum's leadership, we opened housing with designated rooms for unhoused Metro riders.
Oh, my goodness. Building more housing along the Metro corridor for the people that shouldn't be on the buses or trains.
Doctor.
That Dr. Valicia Adams-Kellum is doing a great job. And, of course, Karen Bass wouldn't want to leave us without a revisionist history lesson about how all of this happened because of COVID.
You wouldn't think that you would be paying attention and dealing with problems like this on a transportation system. But the reality is this has happened all across our nation, and it happened when we were inside, sequestered from COVID.
There were no problems on Metro until COVID.
People who were unhoused and had other social and economic needs moved into transit systems.
And why did they do that? Because you were so desperate for anyone to ride that Gavin Newsom made transit free. And as much of a pipe dream as that is for transit advocates, and I understand the mentality, we already pay for this with our taxes. Why are we charging people to get on and off the buses if it's supposed to help the poor? I understand all of that. However, when you make the system free and you have no checks as to who is getting on and off that train, you turn it into a giant homeless shelter.
But altogether, outreach on the Metro system has moved more than 2,000 people off the streets. So
that number seems very low considering you're touting 1 million people riding these trains every single day. And of those 1 million people, they encounter a lot more than just 2,000.
So if there was any doubt that we could get big things done in LA, just take a look at our work alongside Director Roberts to ramp up Metro service after the fire that led to the closure of part of the 10 freeway.
Who started that fire again? Oh, the mystery arsonist that we never caught.
And despite that artery being closed, LA kept moving because of Metro, and Metro's ridership increased.
Yes, and you turned a bunch of lanes into bus-only lanes to make sure that the only things that were moving were the buses. Okay, we're done with Karen Bass. Your time is over. Let's move on to Janice Hahn. And let's start with Janice Hahn kissing Karen Bass's ass.
And let's give a big round of applause to my friend Karen Bass.
I'm skipping the applause.
Your leadership as this past year as chair of Metro was amazing. I wanted to see you do it one more year, but clearly there's this rotation thing. But I was thinking...
When Janice Hahn's on a stage, she just has that, she wanted to be a comedian.
But I was thinking, you became chair of the board just a few months after you became mayor of Los Angeles. And that was such a huge lift for you. But sitting along...
I know she's trying to be sweet, but she sounds a little patronizing.
But sitting alongside you and serving with you has been a wonderful experience for me, and I'm sure all my colleagues on the board of directors. You've taken on those big issues, like safety and homelessness, with grace and skill, and we are better off for your leadership. Thank you so much.
Are we? Seems like the violent crime has never been worse on Metro. Now, in the last 2 months, she did put in a surge. They got that new tap-to-exit program in North Hollywood, which I don't know why they're dragging their feet on not expanding that to every single station, because it's working. They're making sure, at least for the North Hollywood Red Line station, that people cannot get on the train if they're not paying, because the vast majority of people who commit crimes also don't pay. But don't you worry. Janice Hahn wants to make sure that even though Karen Bass did a really, 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 really good job, her number one priority is going to be safety.
We need to expand our Metro Rail network, but we know that...
Your what?
We need to expand our Metro Rail network, but
I didn't know we had a whale network.
We need to expand our Metro Rail network, but we know that these new lines and stations will ultimately fail.
Does she roll her R's like she's 5 years old?
We need to expand our Metro Rail network.
We got to expand the Metro Rail.
We need to expand our Metro Rail network, but we know that these new lines and stations will ultimately fail if riders' top concern isn't whether Metro system goes to where they need it to, but whether they will reach their destinations safely. The recent violent incidents we've seen on our buses and trains are alarming and troubling to every Metro board member. We've heard from riders who've been afraid just trying to take Metro home, bus operators who worry about whether they can do their job safely. And the status quo is unacceptable and needs to change.
Wait, you just said Karen Bass did a great job on safety.
So my top priority as the new chair of the Metro Board of Directors is the safety of our riders and the safety of our employees.
Woo! Safety first. Karen Bass does get some credit for the late surge that happened in her last month of being director.
And law enforcement is an essential part of that puzzle.
Holly didn't like that.
I believe the recent surge in law enforcement ordered by Mayor Bass and our board was the right thing to do. And I've heard from riders who appreciated seeing more officers on their routes.
It's so funny because when they first started the tap-to-exit program where there were actual security making sure that nobody who was in that station didn't pay their fare, there were all of the loud activists who do not represent the actual people that use the system that were like, I am being surveilled by the police. I am being harassed. This is so awful. I can't believe you're criminalizing poverty. And eventually, most of those people got bored and decided to go protest something else. And the people that were left, the people that actually ride the system, rave reviews for visible law enforcement's presence on the platforms and on the trains and on the buses. We could use a little more on the buses, but hey, at least it's a start.
Last month, our board voted to move forward with a proposal to start our own Metro Public Safety Department. And the hope is that this will give Metro greater ability to deploy officers on our buses and our trains who will be more seamlessly connected to our security teams, our homeless outreach staff, and our ambassadors. But we also have to recognize that this isn't a guaranteed success. The reality is that this new agency will take time to stand up, and we need to focus on the safety of our riders right now. And that means having our law enforcement partners at the table, but more importantly, on our platforms and on our trains and on our buses.
Well, look at that. Actual shout-outs at the top of her speech for more law enforcement. She also went into a whole thing about homelessness, but we've talked enough about that. Not supposed to be Metro's problem. If you're homeless and you're not riding the train to get somewhere, bye-bye. But Janice Hahn also made another big promise.
So my third priority this year is to focus on rider experience. That means our buses, our trains need to be clean, arrive on time, and our stations also need to be clean, well-lit, and safe. That also means that our entire system needs to be accessible to riders of all abilities. I want Metro to work more closely with our cities to get more bus shelters installed, to protect our riders from sun and rain. You know, when my dad was supervisor, he would take a different route to the office through his district every day. And every time he came across a pothole, he would report it to his staff and tell them that the next time he drove that road, he expected it to be fixed. So I'm going to take a page out of my dad's book. I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair. And on our board meetings, I'm going to talk about what I experience as a Metro rider. That will mean calling out problems I see, as well as praising the things that go right.
You heard it right here. Janice Hahn is vowing as chair of the Metro board that she is going to do the unheard of. She's going to do the unspeakable. And she's going to ride the system. She's going to ride it, and she's going to be giving her reviews on her experience. Now, just in case you weren't aware, Janice Hahn happens to live all the way in very residential San Pedro. So if she's actually going to do this, and she's going to take the Metro, for instance, as an alternative to commuting from San Pedro to downtown LA on Temple, where the Board of Supervisors Hall is, she would have to walk to Pacific and 7th, get on the Silver Line, also known as the J Line, to nobody. She would have to sit on that bus for 23 stops. It goes an hour and 4 minutes. There is no rail line in between San Pedro and Los Angeles. That's convenient. As far as I see, this is the only way she can go. She's got to go on that Silver Line. Is that the one that goes up the 110 freeway? Oh, that's going to be fun for her. And then she goes for a 10-minute walk off the bus. It's going to take her an hour and 20 minutes with no traffic. With traffic, might take a little longer. Here's the thing. I love that she made that vow. I fully support her in it. I think every single member of the Metro board should be riding those trains, not just once a week, I'd say 3 times a week. Like as much as some offices have people work in the actual office, because it's a really important agency and it uses a lot of our money, and we get a better experience if these people had to ride it themselves. So I applaud Janice Hahn for saying she's going to ride the system.
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this. How many rides on the Metro do you give it before Janice Hahn says, screw it?
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
You think she'll do this for a week? For a month? You think she'll make it the whole year? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. How long do you give it before Janice Hahn abandons her promise to actually ride Metro as chair of the Metro board? Let's all play along, everybody. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. Metro has a brand new chair. It's Janice Hahn, and she's making quite the promise.
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this. How long do you give Janice Hahn before she bails on this idea to ride the Metro? considering the state of Metro right now and considering the fact that Janice lives in San Pedro. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Lane in Woodland Hills. Lane, hello.
Hey there. Randy, I've got a couple questions for you. First of all, will she have security?
I'm going to imagine she will, because that's what Lindsay Horvath did when she was taking selfies on the Metro. But I don't know. Maybe she'll stick to her word and she'll ride it just like you or me.
Okay, second question is, all of the county supervisors have their own office. So is she taking a Metro from San Pedro to San Pedro? Because
even that might be a little risky.
Exactly. Otherwise, by the end of the year, I think it's going to taper off, and it's only going to be, just for show. It's scary on the Metro. I'm never going to do that again.
I totally understand. Lane, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Well, during the break, I'm going to look where Janice Hahn's field office is so we can flag that down, figure out what her commute is going to be. Okay. Oh, she's got quite a few. So she could either go from San Pedro to Cerritos or to Norwalk or San Pedro to San Pedro or to Signal Hill. I'd love to see her go to every individual one. 800-222-KABC. How long do you give it before Janice Hahn abandons this pledge?
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Metro has a brand new chair.
That's your final warning.
And Janice Hahn has made quite the pledge.
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
How long do you give it before Janice Hahn abandons this pledge? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Michael in Whittier. Michael, hello.
Hey, Randy, how are you?
Doing great.
Great. Hey, listen, I firmly believe that she's not going to do it at all. And if she does, it's going to be a public, she's going to make the media be there, and she's going to try to make it some sort of political move for herself or her campaign or anything like that. I mean, when you think of Janice Hahn, all you do is think about is term limits. That's all you think about. Like, she needs to be out of there. Professional politician that's doing nothing for our county or our city.
Well, and she's played the musical chairs more than most people because she did a full stint at the LA City Council. She was in Congress for a while, and now she'll be on her last term of the Board of Supervisors. Where does she go next?
Exactly. And then another thing is, how you don't need to ride that thing to see what's going wrong in the city. You could drive through the city, and I'm sure she does that to get to the Board of Supervisors meetings. She could see what's going on, and she turns a blind eye to it. So just like all those other politicians, Karen Bass did it for over a year now. She just they turn a blind eye to the problem. We all know that.
And they all tell us what a great job they are doing. Michael, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. So Michael says she's not going. Not going at all.
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
Let's go to Brad in L.A. Brad, hello.
Randy, in that quote you keep playing, she's saying, I haven't ridden as much as I should have. What she's actually saying is, I have never ridden the Metro one time in my life. And she's not going to break that streak. She's not. She's never going to do it. She'll say she is, but she's not even going to get on. You'll never see any pictures. It won't happen.
I'll tell you this, and it's to our last caller, Michael and Whittier's point. I did see her on the Metro during the primary season when she was running against Alex Villanueva and Crookshank, and she rode the Metro as a ride-along with Channel 4 with cameras and a microphone in front of her the whole time.
I don't think that counts.
I don't think it
That's
does
not
either.
really
Brad,
right,
thank you so
Metro.
much. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to John in L.A. John, hello.
Oh, I never laughed so hard in a long time. She's from San Pedro. She lives in a nice house in Mayberry. Okay? She's practically born with a silver spoon on her mouth compared to the people that ride the train every day. And she has to go through Norwalk. You know how seedy it is in that neighborhood? I've gotten shot in that neighborhood while driving.
Oh, my.
That's a horrible neighborhood. She's not gonna do it without any escorts or securities, and she's just probably not gonna do it at all. But you know what? More power to her. And then you got a lot of drops, right, Randy?
Oh yeah.
That's your final warning.
That's what she'll say when she sees somebody shooting up meth inside the metro train. She'll give them a nice stern warning. Thanks so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Are you buying this?
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
Sure. Let's go to Jonathan in West L.A. Jonathan, hello.
Hello. I don't think she's going to ride much. It might be like once a week, once every 2 weeks, just to make it look good. My couple questions are, is she going to ride it with her brother, the judge? And the most important question is, she's going to, this is like a morning commute, or maybe she'll do an afternoon. And my question is she going to ride sometime after 11:30 to 3 a.m. on the Metro when it's real dangerous? That's what I'd like to see. But
that's what got me to stop riding it. Jonathan, that's what got me to stop riding the Metro is they started expanding the service to 2 a.m. going into Hollywood, and I saw so many fist fights on the platforms at Universal City, and this was years ago. And I was like, this isn't a good idea.
Randy, great show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC. How long do you give Janice Hahn before she bails?
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
Let's go to Mike in L.A. Mike, hello.
Oh, hey, great show. Listen to it every day. She doesn't make it, but she will find a way to say that she did it all the way, which is just ridiculous. It's like double talk, but they don't fail. These are Democrats, and they're just Democrats in our city, and they do not tell anything bad about the other person. It's just like a no-win situation for the people because they cover their own asses so smoothly. Oh, I haven't ridden in such a long time. I've only done it 2 or 3 times. I feel really bad about that, but not bad enough to let someone else take my job. I think that says it all.
I think you make a great point, Mike.
It's insane. It's insane. I try to share that with my wife, and it always comes off negative. And she said, "No, thank you. Don't talk about politics anymore."
My wife does the same thing.
Just...
Thanks so much for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. It is funny, right, how in the exact same speech, Janice Hahn went from praising Karen Bass to a minute later saying, the status quo has got to go. Do you buy Janice Hahn when she said this?
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
How long do you give Janice Hahn, the new chair of Metro, before she abandons the pledge to be riding it all the time? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. If you'd like to email me, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Barbara writes in about feeling unsafe. Dear Randy, oh my gosh, the only reason why Metro riders feel unsafe is because they are all too aware that they are unsafe. Janice Hahn, oh no, and they want more supervisors like this and a CEO type supervisor, and the ambassadors are now permanent do-nothing paid employees. I say spend that money on more LAPD officers, then get out of the way and let them do their jobs. Barbara, could not agree with you more. Or we just have all the ambassadors who have a little button on their little jackets, and it plays this.
That's your final warning.
You stop doing the drugs on the train right now.
That's your final warning.
Janice Hahn is the new chair of Metro, and she's made quite the pledge.
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, just to be fair to Mayor Bass, remember, she's got her hands full at the Getty House adopting all those homeless people in her Take One, Take Two program, right?
Oh, yeah, landlords, just take one, just take two, and we'll work with you.
Landowners, just take one, just take two, and we'll work with you.
Right. And I give Janice Hahn maybe one ride unless she gets a bulletproof urine filtration mask, a rainbow-colored hazmat suit, and a posse of Sheriff Luna's finest squatters.
There you go. Bill, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Guy always delivers. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're going through the new chair of Metro, Janice Hahn's big speech at the State of the Agency. And no Metro speech is complete without a big shout out to the ambassadors.
When I rode Metro a few weeks ago, I saw ambassadors who were doing a great job, not only answering riders' questions, but trying to be our eyes and ears on the system.
And how many did you see playing Candy Crush on their phones?
And I know there are days when our...
That reference is probably outdated, right? What are they playing now? Wordle? Probably Wordle. Or the one with it's like 4 Wordles at once.
And I know there are days when our ambassadors' jobs are relatively straightforward, but I also want to acknowledge that there are other days when they're not. Our board asked our ambassadors to be equipped with Narcan, and since then, as already been mentioned, they have been able to revive and save the lives of 190 people who otherwise would have died from an overdose. We have several ambassadors here today. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for what you do.
So again, if you're a glass half full kind of person, that's one way to look at it. That, hey, Metro ambassadors saved 190 lives. That's so great. And it is great. I'm so glad they did that. It's way better than playing on their phones. But if you also want to look at it from the other perspective, Metro allowed over 190 people to fatally overdose to the point where they would have died if they weren't revived on the buses and trains, which tells you how much neglect there has been on the buses and trains, because if people are that comfortable shooting up at the stations, it definitely wasn't their first, second, third, or 15th time. So anyway, we will be following up with Janice Hahn to see if she follows through on her promise.
I haven't ridden Metro as much as I should have in the past, but I'm going to make it a point to ride more while I am chair.
Have fun with that, Janice. But you know what? I do like her a little more than Karen Bass. We shall see.
That's your final warning.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. If you missed any episodes of this show, it's very easy to download all of them. We post one every single day. KABC.com. Click on podcasts, or even easier than that, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for KABC News Blitz, search for the News Blitz with Randy Wang. It'll pop up. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes, our regular Monday through Thursday shows, our very special Happy Hour Friday shows where we talk about food and other fun destinations here in the state of California. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for another News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.